What up, what up? It's Wilshocker with more Final Fantasy XIV. Let's get through this story, shall we? Let's get through this bloody story. Entrust Minfilia's rescue to the people of the Crystarium. Alright then. Let us hear what the Exarch has to say.
You are doubtless eager to attempt Minfilia's rescue, and with your combined strength you may well succeed. But as I said earlier, I do not wish to show our hand unless absolutely necessary. It was not merely the night sky that you restored to us, but hope. Hope for the future of Norvrand. Unlike you, we cannot contend with the Light Wardens, but so long as hope burns in our hearts, we will fight on regardless. This I will prove to you.
Why is his body mostly made of crystal? I don't think they ever explained that.
My friends, I thank you for gathering at such short notice. There is something I would ask you all. As many of you are aware, I received an emissary from Yulmore a short while ago in the form of General Ranjit. To my dismay, the General condemned the slaying of the Light Warden, and warned me in no uncertain terms that, should the Crystarium cast its lot with the Warrior of Darkness, there would be war. Let none be mistaken. We would be hard-pressed indeed to resist the might of Yulmore. Some would even call it suicide. And yet my heart cries out to fight. Better that than relinquish the hope that swelled in my breast when I beheld the night sky for the first time in 100 years. Or so says my heart. My mind, meanwhile, reminds me that to follow my heart would be to risk everything we have accomplished thus far. Clearly, this is not a decision to be made lightly, nor less alone. And so I put the question to you all. What should we do?
My lord, you already know our minds. It brought tears to our eyes to witness the knight's return. The whole of Norvrand deserves the same, and not just because some children's story tells us so.
Yulmore's influence is far-reaching. Should war break out, trade would be subject to restrictions. The flow of goods will dry up, and we will struggle to make do with what little trickles through. But make do, we will.
Aye, we can weather such hardships. Is that not the very thing the Crystarium was built for? We have always taken pride in our ability to sustain ourselves. Not just to endure, but to thrive.
When all falls down around you, rise up. Those were your words. There may come a day when all hope seems lost. But even should the rest of the world give in to despair, we shall not. We shall fight on, that our children and our children's children might know a better tomorrow.
Rousing words apart, I never much cared for those Yulmoran bastards anyway. No better than common swindlers, most of them. Wouldn't know a fair deal if it came up and kissed them on the arse.
Trust you to spoil the moment.
It appears we have a consensus. Let it be known that the Yulmoran host at Laxon Loft has taken the Oracle of Light captive. They fear the power she holds over the Sin Eaters, and doubtless intend to imprison her once more. So, I move that we rescue the Oracle, grant her a place among us, and let that be our answer to Yulmor's ultimatum.
Here, here!
Here, here!
In planning a strategy for the rescue, I open the floor to you all.
And there you have it. If Yulmor wishes to denounce us as villains, then we shall embrace our villainy. Will you do so as well?
We will not be outdone. Consider us your partners in crime.
Hee hee. I'm glad I'm doing this. I'm really glad I'm catching up on this story. It's been
My
too
lord,
long.
our proposal is as follows. We begin by deploying Amaro to occupy the skies over Lakeland. They should serve to delay the airship's departure. At the same time, we scatter dream powder from the air. Not all will succumb to its effects, but it should thin the enemy's numbers, affording us an opening to swoop in and liberate the Oracle.
Very good. See to your preparations.
Okay. I'll be right back.
And what exciting crimes would you have us commit? Speaking for my fellow villains, I'd say we're capable of most things, though we draw the line at indolence.
Alright, I'll be right back. Okay, cool.
If excitement is your desire, then I bid you join the guard.
Ba, 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 ba. The people of the Crystarium have initiative. I respect that. Though our hosts have offered to take the lead, we still have a part to play. Let's see that we play it well. Many here have a place in their hearts for Lymphelia. We must ensure that this mission succeeds for all of their sakes. Okay, no side quests. So you'll be joining the guard. However highly the Exarch thinks of you, you will receive no special treatment from me. Is that clear? Where's your salute, soldier? Better. More spirited than the Exarch's feeble attempts, certainly. Now, first things first, you will need uniforms. Go to the Crystalline Mean and report to Cutlass. She will see you measured and fitted. Ba ba ba. There's the last of them. The friends are being measured as we speak. Right this way. We'll see to it that you're dashing best for your first outing. That you look your dashing best. Ba, 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 ba. Done, are you? Let's have a look at those numbers. As mentioned earlier, we will deploy Amaro to scatter dream powder from the air. Once the powder takes effect, an elite unit will storm the fortress to rescue the Oracle. Our safe liberation is our sole objective. Engagement is to be avoided whenever possible. I assume we are to be a part of said unit? Correct. The unit will be divided into two contingents, one deploying from Fort Job and the other from the Hostile Imperative. You and Elfino will join the former. Will, meanwhile, will join the latter with me. Before you proceed to your positions, you are to report to Chestermile at Spagarix. She will issue you a serum to ward off the effects of dream powder. We shall be on our way then. Take care, my friend, and we will see you in the field. It's quite far to the Imperative, so you may make use of an Amaro from the Rookery, after you've collected the cereal, of course. Is there something you need? One of the guard came for your dram, are you? Not busy first, I should warn you, it's bitter as sin. Princess kiss they call it, but if you ask me it should be crone's kiss. Just aside, this stuff really is foul. Most people gag like there's no tomorrow. But if you don't drain every last drop, you'll end up taking a trip to Dreamland yourself. So I must ask you to drink it here and now while I watch. Come on, give the old crone a kiss. Well done, sweetie. I'm proud of you. Why, if I didn't know any better, I'd say you even enjoyed it. And now you needn't fear falling asleep on the battlefield. Just have care you don't lose any limbs out there, alright? They don't tend to grow back. Yes, what will you require of me? An Amaro to take you to the Imperative, eh? As much as I would like to oblige, all our mounts are reserved for the upcoming operation. I feel you'll have to go by foot. There might be another way, assuming you're willing to lend a hand. 72 already, huh? Jesus! What is this? Hold it right there, Greenhorn. If you thought you could just stroll right past your senior without asking how you might aid me in my duties, you have another thing coming. It just so happens that I have a task for you to perform. This is a supply order that must be delivered to the mines at Radiska's rounds. You are to take it to him and to do so with all speed. What a bossy lady. Oh there! If you're not otherwise occupied at the moment, how about lending me a hand or two? They got me on repair duty, and well, with that sorry shape this place is in, it's definitely not a one-man job. It's a simple enough task. Just take this here pail of water, find a couple of spots where the walls are looking ragged, and apply a healthy dab. Thanks, friend. And well, with our ranks thinned as they are, we need all the help we can get. Ba 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 ba. The Aurum Van. Ah, yes, this lovely dungeon. See ya!
secret army, secret police that can just take people, hurt people. In Chicago, there was just an ICE raid this last week where they tricked people who were following the legal immigration process into coming for a check-in and then arrested them and assaulted protesters and elected officials. This is beyond the pale, and just because Steve...
Okay. Here we are. That's what I'm looking for. There are worse jobs than guarding the Imperative. Though it's not without its problems. The trouble is, soldiers are supposed to withstand whatever hardships are thrown at us, but we're not made of stone. Some of the others are complaining and warning at signs of weakness, so they act as if nothing bothers them. They never admit it to another guard, but they might to an outsider like you. A few swigs of flatulent stranger might get them talking, though. Don't blame me, I didn't name it. Anyway, If you can find out what they really think of working here, it'll make it worth your while. Okay, how do I get inside here? For real. What is this place, dude? Dang. Big tower. Hello? What's this? Oh, Flatulent Stranger, my favorite. I suppose it wouldn't hurt to stop for a few moments while I wet my whistle. Mind you, with all these recent goings-on, we're in a state of constant high alert. Of course, that means I have to stay in this chair, stare through the lens, and not fall asleep for the whole shift. Truth be told, I found myself nodding off from time to time, and I'd appreciate it if we could take shorter turns, not to mention the saddle sores I get from sitting down for so long. The Ostel Imperative. The well-preserved remnants of a fortress dating back to the glory days of the Lakeland. This imposing structure was named in honor of Sir Ostal, who, according to the tales, ordered his men to stand their ground against the remaining horde of sin-eaters. The knight himself refused to fall, holding off the abominations until the small folk had reached safe refuge. I say, might I ask a favor? Nothing too troublesome, I assure you. Assuming you have no aversion to slaying a few lake anemones, that is. It is their seeds I'm after, you see, and I will gladly pay above the going rate for swift delivery. There's no need to worry about the whys and wherefores for now. Just bring them back to me as quickly as you can. Very well. Another kill monsters quest. Why not? Built nigh a century ago by the elves who ruled Lakeland in those days. After the flood, it served as one of the bastions of defense against the sin-eaters. This fort's taken its fair share of beatings, but it stands tall to this day, watching over and protecting the Crystarium and its people, and it's our job to keep it standing. Material and manpower shortages be damned. Of course, we couldn't do it without the generous efforts of volunteers like you. I reckon you have a real talent for repairs. Mayhap I could interest you in joining the guard as a full-time wall mender? I jest, of course. I've already taken enough of your time today. Take your friend to be careful out there. You must be the one Lena mentioned. She said you're quite the fighter. I have a job for you if you're interested. A group of ne'er-do-wells have been making a nuisance of themselves down in Dampole. What's worse, they're armed with the same gear that we use. We can't be sure it was stolen from the Imperative or if they got it from one of our own, selling it from under our noses. Whatever the cause, we need to get to the bottom of this. I want you to locate the stolen weapons and bring one back to me as evidence. And I'll collect the rest later. And if those thieving bastards try anything, do whatever is necessary to defend yourself. Ba, 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 ba. What brings you here? Oh, this should help me pass the time. Keep watch outside the barracks is not the most exciting job, I must admit. A little bit of flatulent stranger will get me through the shift, but I better not make a habit of drinking on the job. What I could really do is someone to talk to. After all, guards usually work in pairs, don't they? Not only would it be good company, where we could cross our spears and say, "Who goes there?" whenever someone comes close. I've always wanted to try that. Greetings to you. Still fighting a good fight? I expect all that running about, slaying horrible beasts gets quite tiring. If you don't mind me saying so, you look like you could do with putting your feet up for a bit. And luckily for you, I know just the place. Have you ever been to Clearmelt? The water from the falls does wonders for aches and pains. And if you tell Boss to bathe that I sent you, she'll see that you're well taken care of. Planning to go somewhere by Amaru, are you? Ale. I suppose a few sips wouldn't ruffle too many feathers. It puts my nerves at ease, that's for certain. But I wish there was something I could do for my Amaru. I could be a bit uncooperative when it gets too bright, you see. Perhaps we should use some sort of hoods to help them calm down. Dun 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 dun. It is video time.
I want to share with you something that I've been doing and testing out for about half a year. It's had a noticeable impact on my success in solo PvP and my overall experience with non-instanced content. So we're talking about mists, open world roads. It does not apply to corrupted dungeons or hellgates. And by no means is this any kind of a secret. In fact, many people PvP focused players use this in some form or another, but it's time we talk about this more. Let me show you two very quick PvP clips and then I'll explain in detail what we're talking about. Here in the first clip, I'm fighting as Daybreaker against another Daybreaker, and it kinda looks like things aren't going great. Although I dodge his E from distance, he hits a big damage impaler from Assassin Jacket and has a good HP advantage. But look at this, I use my Cultist Cowl and for 4 seconds he cannot fight back. His kiting tools are on cooldown and he just stands there looking as his HP disappears and I end up getting a nice kill. And now let's compare it to this situation. In this fight, I'm doing a decent job catching my enemy and staying on top of him, but this Chillhowl player is doing a great job kiting me. He constantly slows and auto attacks me as he's walking away. He has higher cooldown reduction than me and his boots get ready before mine. My E, Harpoon and boots are all on cooldown now, but I have a magic trick, my Duskweaver helmet. Hitting my helmet makes him waste his boots and his Assassin Jacket, and I am able to catch and finish this kill. So what is this simple but awesome strategy that's going to change your life if you start implementing it more? I'm talking about the helmet swap. Let me explain the logic behind it, then how to properly do it, and then why this is actually a super simple way to instantly level up your solo PvP. For me, this whole idea started with Daybreaker. If you watched my guide or PvP analysis of Daybreaker fights, you've probably heard me say that to get the most out of that weapon's potential, you need more than one helmet. But over the course of about last 6 months, I've explored this approach for other weapons, and I am now very convinced that this is a simple yet very effective strategy to level up your solo PvP on almost any weapon. Let's talk about how to properly apply this idea to your PvP game. The basic idea of this helmet swapping strategy is to bring 2 helmets that are useful in different PvP situations, to cover all your bases, so to speak. The goal here is to make you as strong as possible overall and give you access to more different types of PvP. So, for example, let's say you're playing the one-handed spear. You might have correctly learned over time that fighting a Shadowcaller sucks. It's a bad matchup. But now, you found the Guardian helmet in your pocket, and suddenly, you have access to that PvP fight. This approach is viable for 95% of all solo builds and weapons in Albion Online. The only ones where you probably don't want a helmet swap is if your whole combo revolves around your original helmet. So for example, if you're playing Hellfire Hands with a stun on your helmet, probably you won't want to swap it in any situation. From my experience, the 2 best ways to think about your helmet swap strategy are the following. First, consider that you bring 1 helmet for kiting heavy fights and 1 helmet for very brawl heavy fights. So think about which helmet you'd prefer against a Frost Staff, for example, but then which would you prefer against a Battle Axe, and bring both of those 2 options. But secondly, if you zoom out a little bit and realize that in open world, mists or roads setting, most of your 1v1 fights are not honorable PvP duels where both sides shake hands and start the fight.
Lumiosity
Then you can start
BT,
adopting
thanks for
the
checking out
second
the stream.
approach.
How are you doing?
And the second approach is to bring 1 helmet for attacking and 1 helmet for defending. So essentially, you have 1 helmet for when you are the aggressor, when you are the one chasing your enemies, trying to finish kills, and then another helmet for when you are in a defensive stance, when you are being attacked or forced into a fight by someone potentially stronger than you. If this idea is not entirely clear to you yet, don't worry. I'm going to go over 4 helmets which in my opinion perform the best in this helmet swap type of strategy, and as we discussed.
How are you doing this? Just about time for... well, alright, let's see. What's next here? Got so many quests going on. Da-da-da. Damn it all, we can ill afford to lose another. Oh there, friends, why don't you lend me your aid? One of my best men is yet to return from his patrol, and I fear the worst. As you can see, Zamara made it back safely, but when my man's nowhere to be found. You just search for him in my stead. I'll go myself, but I can't very well abandon my post. Bloody beast, what do you think you're... You reckon he's gone back for his rider? Sorry to trouble you, friend. I see you follow that Amara for us. Scary route might be my best chance of finding our man. Okay, I got it. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. What the? Yay!
Discuss each and every one of them, it will become more and more clear to you what exactly I'm talking about and how exactly this looks like in real life. And the first helmet to talk about, which can be incredibly valuable and is the star of the strategy, is the Guardian helmet. The Guardian helmet is a powerful defensive, which is kind of universally useful in every fight, at least to some extent. But in some matchups, it is godlike. First of all, obviously curse staff. Against a curse staff, and we're not just talking about one-handed curse, but any single curse staff, you can remove their curse stacks whenever you want with your Guardian helmet. And this is very powerful and can almost completely change the way that a fight goes against any curse staff. Like my example against one-handed spear versus Shadowcaller, it can be the very reason why you're even able to take the fight. Or if you have a build that performs generally okay against curse staffs, this will give or can give you a huge upper hand. Another opponent against whom Guardian Helmet brings more to the table than your average defensive is the Bow of Badon, because a big part of the damage from the Bow of Badon E comes as damage over time. If you click your helmet right after you get hit by their E, you can remove that part of the spell, and it's a straight up counter. And finally, of course, Axes, another weapon that uses damage over time. You can use Guardian Helmet to remove their bleeds, and remember that this doesn't just remove the damage you would have taken from the specific bleed, but in some cases, like against Battle Axe, this also changes how what their spells will do. Battle Axe E will heal a lot less if they hit it, the second E will hit a lot less if they hit it against you after you remove the bleed stats. So Guardian Helmet overall is a solid defensive for most situations, which in some particular matchups and fights will give you an extra superpower and will absolutely change it into a completely different fight. However, if you only use Guardian Helmet, which isn't a bad choice, but if that's the only choice you have when you go out into the open world or into the mists, then you are limiting yourself in one very important regard, and that is mobility. Guardian Helmet does nothing when the limiting factor of your build is that you need a bit more mobility for a specific fight or specific PvP situation. You cannot purge your enemies' boots or mobility like you can with some other helmets, and you cannot use it for yourself to get away or to kite your enemy. So it's a helmet that in some cases is very limiting and in some cases is extremely powerful, and thus performs exceptionally well as being not the sole helmet or the sole option, but as one of two helmets. As part of your helmet swapping strategy. The second helmet on our list today is the Cultist Guard. This might just be the strongest defensive helmet in all of Albion. It has very good duration, good cooldown, and completely shuts down some very brawl heavy enemies and builds. And in many ways it is similar to the Guardian helmet because it has a big problem. If you're in a fight where you need mobility, if you need to catch a bow player or a frost player, or even you just need to make sure you can finish off a bloodletter or double bladed after you've started winning the fight, suddenly your Cultist Cowl can become almost a useless item. So it performs very well as one of two helmets, but not so strong if it is your only option for every PvP fight. Do you see the fight happening on screen right now? This Blood Moon is 8-3 and I'm in tier 7, and although it's not a bad matchup for Daybreaker, this profit would not be possible if I didn't have the option to swap to Cultist Cowl when I came across him. Similarly to how Guardian Helmet transforms a couple matchups, so does the Cultist Cowl. Against very strong brawlers, against dual swords for example, against Death Givers, and to be honest many other daggers as well, because daggers auto attack very fast, against Battle Axe even. You can almost, and against spears as well, you can almost win the fight off of just this one spell if you use your Cultist Cowl at a good time, like the example from the start of the video. So we have two good helmet swap options already. Let's talk about number 3, and that is the Dusk Weaver helmet. Now this is a bit of the opposite to Cultist Cowl or Guardian Helmet, which is why when it comes to helmet swap strategy specifically, one of my favorite pairing actually is to bring Cultist Cowl and Dusk Weaver. Dusk Weaver can give any weapon an amazing potential to be able to catch and stick on top of their targets. It can be good in any kiting heavy fight, whether you are the one doing the kiting or it's your enemy trying to kite you. If they are kiting, you can use it to catch them and stay on top of them, like I've shown in my videos and fight clips. But if you are kiting, you can first of all use it slow as you maintain distance, but secondly it
Why on earth is Minfilia reincarnated? That makes no sense to me.
Keep moving.
Alright, I'll be right back. I'm gonna get some coffee. Makes no sense. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. Wahoo!
What now?
The Crystarium at a guess. Desperate fools. It'll take more than a handful of overgrown lizards to ground us.
Captain, the powder has taken effect.
It is time. Let us free the Oracle from their clutches.
Let's go. Amazing. Amazing how they made the music work like that. I hate Bug. I hate Bug! Fucking hate Bug. God. Whoever created this universe and allowed bugs to exist is on my bad side. Why is she not affected by the sleep powder?
Brazen thieves. You will regret coming here. Return to Yulmore.
How is he stronger than Xenos? How is it 8:25 already? It was like 7:55 5 minutes ago. What the hell?
You boy, you bear a striking resemblance to the artist my master seeks. By all means, keep your counsel. You will all have ample time to confess your crimes back in Yule.
Thancred.
Thancred?
So, you are the wretch who stole her from us. And what if I am? What? Pathetic. Vermin such as you are not worthy of the Oracle.
What's that? Nani kore? Huh? Nani desu ka? Ah. Crystal Exarch did it, I think.
Break!
What is that? Elegant cube?
Fool! You would see your city razed.
I would sooner see it razed than conquered. Suffice it to say, we are ready to receive you.
What now, Exarch? Will you face me yourself?
I think not, General. I've quite exhausted my tricks. If you mean to give chase, I will not stand in your way. But you would do well to tread warily, for your quarry goes to a place where even Yulmore dare not bear its steel. Ilmeg, the Fairy Kingdom.
Ba 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 ba. Huh?
To think that mountain of indolence still had the energy to unleash his hounds.
What?
Even the most pointless of conflicts may alter a world's course. And now the plan has gone awry.
What? What is he doing here?
But how? How did the so-called Crystal Exarch bring the hero of the source to the first? As if I didn't have enough on my hands already. Then again, with a soul such as that, mayhap there is another way. One which does not require bloodshed.
What is he doing there? What are you doing there? That's not your world. You do not belong there. Belong there you do not.
Not so long ago, here in the shadow of the northern ranges, lay the great kingdom of Verbert. A nation with a proud history that the Sin Eaters cut short, just like all the rest. Since that time, these lands have become a haven for Fey folk. Dreamers frolicking amidst the ruins of a forgotten realm.
Ilmeg.
We should be safe enough here. It's good to see you again, my friends. I don't know about you, but it feels like years since last we met. 5 of them in my case.
Why, it only feels like 1 to me, but long enough to warrant a more convivial reunion either way.
Convivial.
What brought you to Laxon Loft?
The girl, Minfilia, she and I were traveling together, hunting Sin Eaters. But as we were nearing Lakeland, she abruptly ran off on her own. I found her too late to stop the Yulmorans from taking her prisoner. And as I was considering rescue options, I observed that the Crystarium was on the move. So I consulted the Exarch, who apprised me of the details of the operation and issued me certain instructions. Should the situation take a turn for the worse, I was to see you all safely to Ilmeg. And here we are.
Urianger has called this place home for a while now, yet we have never called upon him, I am ashamed to say. It was only at the Crystarium that we met.
Hardly surprising. This is not the sort of place one visits on a whim. Happily, having trespassed on Urianger's hospitality for a spell, Minfilia and I have an idea of how things work around here. Sooner or later, the Yulmorans will come after us. But before they do, the Exarch bids us accomplish 2 things. First, rendezvous with Urianger. And second, eliminate the Light Warden of this land.
So, Minfilia. What made you leave Thancred behind, if you don't mind me asking?
You. The hero from another world. I was asleep when I felt it. A presence. Someone I was meant to meet. They were close and I knew I had to go to them. But with all the commotion in Lakeland, I was afraid that Thancred wouldn't let me.
And would I have been wrong? Had I arrived a moment later, you would be back in your cell in Yulmore. And now we have Ranjit snapping at our heels. You really have outdone yourself this time.
I'm sorry. Thank you for saving me. Oh, poor thing being scolded so.
Oh dear.
Who said that? Show yourselves.
Come now, put away that frown and have some fun with us. Yes, let us have some fun. Lots and lots of fun.
Which way was it to Urianger's?
I've been there so many times, but I can't. Oh, why can't I remember?
Damn it all. We're already caught in their spell.
Performs the function which many kiters really suffer from lacking, which is having some sort of gap close once you do have enough of an advantage and you decide to go in to guarantee the kill. So Duskweaver can be amazing. But if the fight becomes more about standing closer to your enemy and brawling, you now pretty much have a useless helmet. And so I hope that you can see this pattern developing. We're talking about helmets which can be extremely powerful in specific PvP situations, and then borderline useless or at least very weak in some others. And Duskweaver fits this description exactly and performs great as part of a helmet swap strategy. And helmet number 4, which becomes much stronger when it is one of your options and not your helmet for every fight, is the Soldier helmet. Now this once again functions somewhat similarly to Guardian helmet. It's just a decent overall defensive spell. Even more than the Guardian, however, it can be pretty hit or miss. In some matchups, it's amazing. If your enemy has a telegraphed big damage spell or some CC that you can react to, it's amazing to have the Soldier helmet. Even against weapons like Daybreaker, if they use their E from far, Soldier helmet is a counter. Against Chillhowl, you can deny them the E completely if you use your Soldier helmet and get out of their E range. You can use it to counter enemies who have very telegraphed big damage spells or combos, like for example Battle Bracers, Hellfire Hands, even to counter the E from Bow of Badon. There's a lot of different situations where it is really nice. But then if they don't have one of those telegraphed spells, then it becomes barely useful at all. So if for some reason you're not convinced that Guardian helmet is a fantastic swap, Soldier helmet is pretty much the next best thing and will open up your PvP options by quite a lot, simply if you have that in your inventory and you're able to swap to it for maybe 1 or 2 fights out of 10. So these 4 helmets in my opinion stand out and become extremely valuable when you're looking at them as just one of your 2 options and not the only helmet you use. But there's 2 more helmets we need to quickly talk about because they've become very relevant as I've developed different ideas around this helmet swap strategy. And those 2 we need to quickly discuss are the Purges, namely Fiend Cowl and Helmet of Valor. Now,
Come on, man. Alright.
Both of these helmets kind of shine as a one-way answer to everything, and that's something I've talked about earlier in many videos. Having a purge is the most versatile and amazing thing that you can give yourself in solo PvP. But there is still a little bit of tendency with both of those helmets that they help you more in those kite-heavy fights when the question is about mobility, or when you are the attacker of the situation trying to catch and force someone to fight you. However, as an added bonus, something that the Duskweaver helmet cannot do, as an added bonus, if you're using a Fiendcal or Helmet of Valor and you figure out you don't need to purge your enemy's boots because they're just running into you taking the fight, you still have a powerful spell that will help you win the brawl. You can remove their Inferno, their Cleric Robe, their stacks, whatever the situation requires. So overall, both of these helmets don't really need a second one. Mostly, I would say. You can go with Helmet of Valor or Fiendcal and feel happy about almost all situations. But my strong suggestion, and something that has helped me, is to
Wow, Helmet of Valor is very good.
to still kind of look at those helmets as just one of several options, and to pair them with one of those cheap and super situational defensively useful helmets, namely the Guardian helmet or the Soldier helmet. So if you want to start experimenting more with this helmet swap strategy and see what it can do for you, and you're already using one of the Purge helmets, I suggest that you keep it on as your main helmet for most situations, but bring a Guardian helmet in your pocket when you match against a Curse Staff, or maybe a Bow of Badon, or maybe against the Battle Axe, and swap to that for those specific situations, provided you decide that mobility is not an issue for you for that fight. Or take a Soldier helmet and swap for that if in the situations we talked about. Okay, so Helmet of Valor and Fiendcal are great, universal, almost universal helmets, but still have some room for a helmet swap strategy, and specifically for Guardian helmet. This is my go-to right now for a lot of different weapons, and I absolutely love it. A helmet swap strategy. Strategy, and specifically for Guardian helmet. This is my go-to right now for a lot of different weapons, and I absolutely love it. Equipping Helmet of Valor and having Guardian helmet in my pocket for some situations. The second kind of simple strategy to start with if you want to look into helmet swapping more now as you're here listening to me, then the second way to start it is to use Duskweaver helmet as your default in order to catch enemies, stay on top of them, and then bring one of the helmets that helps you win brawls as a backup option. Cultist Cowl, absolutely amazing, but if that's too expensive, then you can still go with one of those defensive ones. Or vice versa, you can run around the mists or open world using your Guardian helmet, ready to use it if you get attacked, but if you then get up into a fight where you would like to have extra mobility to catch your opponent or kite them, then swap to Duskweaver just for that power. So try those things out. Let's talk a little bit about downsides of helmet swapping to see if this really is such a simple way to transform your PvP, or if there are actually some costs involved that you should think about or some problems with this. First of all, this isn't the downside, but if you're listening to this and thinking, oh, that's a cool idea, I will try it in a corrupted dungeon, don't forget that in corrupted dungeons you cannot swap your gear. So this only applies to open world type of situations and not instance content in Albion. But the actual potential downsides we need to discuss are...
Okay, I'm gonna head off here. Thanks for watching. Remember